Hello, guys. Welcome to Life Issues with a Gyro. Actually, I don't know if this is the name I came up with the other time, but I don't know. It's inspiration, Bremer. Anyways, welcome to a Gyro's Hub. How's your day? Happy Sunday today. And once again, today is my anniversary. Happy 7 years anniversary to myself and my hobby. Unfortunately, he's not here with me, and he'll make it up somehow. I was awake early hours of today. I just had to spend time thanking God, worshiping God for how far He has brought my husband and I thus far. We give God the glory. 7 years down the road, and He has indeed been faithful. So today I'm going to do something different. I got a couple of questions I'd like to answer. Thought just give my own view on and perspective on these issues. The questions are quite numerous. I'll see how far I can go with the time I have on my hands. So let's go. Question number one. What was the greatest challenge you faced as a wife? Well, I would say the greatest challenge I faced as a wife is a misunderstanding we had, my husband and I, the early days of our marriage. That's the worst and the greatest, one of the greatest challenge I've ever faced because I was inexperienced. I just got married. My husband likewise was inexperienced. And it was something when the misunderstanding started, we tried to handle it on our own with the little knowledge we had, and we ended up getting so worked up. We drove ourselves to the edge. We took in so much, much more than we could handle. And it actually led to an eruption. But I won't want to go into detail on this video, but I believe it's something I'll get to talk about in the nearest future. But that misunderstanding was the greatest challenge I've ever faced as a wife, as a married woman. So, the next question: what did you not like when you first got married, and have gotten adjusted to it now? Let's see, what did I not like? Okay, I'm a person, I'm not a fan of touch, physical touch. I don't really enjoy it. I don't like being touched. So getting married, you're a married woman, you have a spouse, you have needs to meet, and you touch and your husband will touch you and all those things. It wasn't really something I really liked then. It took me time to get used to it because yes, the full package. I signed up for the whole deal. So now I would actually say I didn't like it then, but I started appreciating physical touch now. Actually, the time I got to now really adjusted to accepting physical touch was in course of one of our misunderstandings. Then we went to bed on the regular day, everybody on their own sides of the bed. And that night, there was an attempt to break into our house. We were asleep when we just heard the window opening and someone tried to get in. So I jumped up, I called my husband, he stood up and all of a sudden became my rise and shining armor. So he stood up, tried to fight off the person. Anyway, they couldn't get in, but they knew, okay, at home we were awake and all those stuff. So they ran away. And after which my husband came back to bed, I was trying to sleep. And all of a sudden, he just held me from behind. And man, it felt so good. It was comforting. So at that point, I was like, oh, this is actually nice. Have I really been missing this? So at that point, I remember the touch and everything, and I appreciated it. So it's something I really touch was something I really didn't like then, but I appreciate it now. So next question is, what has kept romance alive in your marriage these 7 years? I would say, though I'm still learning, one thing I know we've done and which has helped us is that we talk. We've learned to talk. We've learned to communicate what we want, what we don't want, what we like, what we don't like. We've learned to appreciate ourselves, to respect ourselves. That mutual respect, very important. In terms of romance, physical intimacy, we've gotten to understand that we are meant to satisfy each other. I had to tell myself, this is marriage. I have no other person to satisfy me other than my husband, and vice versa. So we have to make it work one way or the other. I had to understand that. My husband also understands that. So we had to do whatever was necessary to make our romantic life going. We had to do it together. We had to work well, okay, on becoming friends. It's usually said that marriage is quite interesting when you get married to your friend, but that wasn't my own case. My husband wasn't really one of my friends or close friends before we got married. He wasn't a person I grew up with. So, but no, we're already adults. We met ourselves and we got married. So I had to find a friend in my husband. He said, it's very good you marry your friend, but it's better to make a friend out of who you get married to. That's what I did. So we had to intentionally become each other's friends. You'll be surprised that becoming each other's friends after marriage, yes, marriage is more interesting when you are friends. So I told myself, is this marriage going to work? I have to be in it 100%, not 50-50, not 80-20, but I have to be in it. I have to be involved. I have to be interested. So I also tried as much as possible not to have anything fester in my heart, be it disagreement or whatever. So my husband also tried to make it work. Whenever I get to say something, make a complaint or bring a suggestion, he will listen. We will adjust when necessary. So we both put our heads together to make it work. So it's these things, little things of ours that we did that actually make our romantic life work, being intentional. I don't just do things for the sake of doing it haphazardly. No, I'm intentional. Maybe for instance, I go out and I know, okay, this thing I've seen, my husband will like it. I like it on him or something. I buy it. I get to look for what to please my husband, and I did those things regularly. And he also tries to do the same thing. Also, in work, talking about our communication, worked on it in terms of even when we are not together. Communication is not only what you do when you are talking to yourself. We are not home. I'm at work. He's away. I'll send him a message. Sometimes I even tell him, I tease him, you have a wife here, you're forgetting me. Oh. So we have to learn how to be in touch with ourselves throughout the day. Hello, how you doing? We chat up ourselves. I read somewhere, I heard somewhere that it's not only at the end of the day for husbands or wives that you come back home at the end of the day and you want to carry out marital duties. I told my husband, no, it's not supposed to be like this. Oh, this is what is being said. We have to plan about it. When you know you will do something at the end of the day, they said immediately you step off your bed that morning, start filling your wife's romantic tank. So we got to listen to messages, listen to matured counselors, and we looked for beneficial things, positive things to adopt and adapt to our home. So you see that okay, with those things, my husband we've left, he has gone to work, I've gone to work. He'll send me a message, how are you doing? How was your day? So these were things we did. I had to make my husband feel wanted. I want you, I love you, and all those things. And he also did the same thing. So those things we did regularly are things that help to spice and boost our romantic life, that nurtured it into what it is to be. Yes, we are not where we ought to be, but we are on the right track because we are not where we used to be. So another question, how do you know when your marriage needs counseling? Well, I would say you should consider seeking counseling if you and your partner constantly argue a lot, or you tend to avoid each other, or there's this feeling of dissatisfaction in the relationship, or you guys are faced with an issue that you cannot put your heads together and resolve on your own, or you have this feeling that you are drifting apart. It's very, very important that immediately you seek help. But before seeking help, try to sit and talk about it. Personally, for me, when there are, if there's anything like that going on, first and foremost, I sit and I look inward. If I observe things like that, my first call is myself. I look inward. Is there anything I'm doing that I should not be doing, or is there anything I'm doing and not doing right? So I look into myself first, and I make attempt to fix it from my own side, not placing blames on my husband or anything. So if I've looked inwards, I've taken stock of myself, and I know, okay, I'm not overreacting because I want to be sure it's not from my end. Am I sure I'm doing everything right? After that, I would speak with my husband. Okay, this is what I've observed and all those things. And since the time we had the first issues in our home and all those things, and we genuinely forgive each other, by the grace of God, we've not really had any issue to the extent of seeking a counselor or a mentor to come and intervene into our home. Because at the point of reconciliation, after the issue we had, I told myself I'm not ready to go down this path again. So we had to talk. If I in course of reconciliation, we had to talk through everything that happened. Where did he go wrong? What did my husband do that hurt me? What did I do that hurt him? We had to revisit every one of those issues, and we were ready to talk. He was tired of the whole misunderstanding, and I was also okay. I would have loved to say I was also tired of it, but that wasn't really the case. You know, say we worry girls, we they get fight for body. So my husband was ready in terms of reconciliation. In terms of that reconciliation, he was ready and open for it because even at that time, he was open and tried to reach out to me. But me, I was just my head was in another place. I wasn't in that space. But thank God for his grace. He was able to bring me out from that point I had kept myself. But at that point of reconciliation, one thing I knew was since we are going to reconcile, I didn't want to go through this anymore. We had to sit down, we had to talk. Even before we even sat down one on one, we had to talk on phone, we had to talk about it. So after that, if there's anything going wrong, we have to visit it immediately. Another thing I did was prayer, pray about everything, whether corporate prayers, individual prayers. We prayed about our home. So I prayed those things I wanted to see in my home into existence. I wasn't ready to go through all I have been through in the past again. So there was no time in the marriage, nothing in the marriage we didn't pray about because we are just coming from a man who was to say we are just reconciled. We weren't really each other's fan, greatest fan or motivator. No. So at the point of we had reconciled, we had to pray about everything. God bring back romance. God increase our love. Prayer was a major factor for us. We prayed together. God increase our love, cause us to love each other. We had to pray about these things. Literally, as we kept praying about it, I want to believe God saw the sincerity in our hearts and He brought it back. It got to a point that I started feeling okay. It appears I'm missing my husband, or I just realized I'm smiling. When you smile, okay, you just remember something your husband did. I was like, okay, God is answering. So we prayed for those basic things back. Mind you, we were already married years ago. Even for physical intimacy, we had to start praying for that attraction again. Because yeah, we've been hurt and all those things. I remember praying that God restore attraction. I want to be attracted to my husband, and my husband should also be attracted to me. Because we had gone past all those things. So regularly we prayed about these things. Personally, I prayed about it. God put my husband in my mind. There should be that attraction. I prayed for attraction personally because we women we tend to hold on to grudges much longer than the men. I had to keep praying about it because I can't imagine doing the business of the other room with someone you're not attracted to doesn't get that well with us as ladies. We know. So the point I actually knew God had answered that prayer was at a time, a while after we were doing those prayers, although I kept praying about it. I can't remember what happened. I think my husband held me. Mind you, the prayer we made then was I should be attracted to my husband, and my husband should also be attracted to me. So it got to a point I just noticed like my husband couldn't keep his hands off me. So at the point I was like, but you hold me, relax now, give me chance. So immediately I said that thing. I just got administration in my spirit. I was like, and it was like, but I thought this is what you prayed for. And is this what you are saying? At that point, I became so sober. I was like, God, please forgive me, forgive me. I was like, yeah, this answer to prayers. I actually overgot the attraction. We became overly attracted to ourselves. That was almost complaining. I was like, but you prayed for this. I had to ask forgiveness. So please, let's not relegate prayers to the background. Prayers is very, very important. Very, very important. United prayer, individual prayers, very important. Do you know? Let me tell you something. There are times I pray about something so basic. At times, my husband will like, "What's wrong with you?" I'll tell him that please leave me in my prayer. God understands my childlike prayers. Anything so basic, it can be something I want my husband to do, and he's not ready to do it. And I know, okay, this is what I really want. I will pray about it too. Sometimes God is so faithful that my husband will just ask me to either lead devotion or pray or round up prayer. We will pray that prayer, and he will join and pray because it's what I lead. We pray about. So I pray about everything. I talk with my husband directly or indirectly, but we tackle it together. And by the grace of God, God sees the sincerity of my heart, and He will see the sincerity of your heart when you get to pray about basic things concerning your home. So, another question: how do you balance career and marriage? Okay, balancing career and marriage involves certain things like time management, set out boundaries, share your household chores, everybody knowing what they ought to do. Like I said, we complement ourselves, share the household responsibilities. Let's have open communication, communicate with one another. This is what I want my spouse to do. Tell him, don't assume, okay, he knows I'm working late, so he will cook or he will do that. No, let's not assume. Let's learn to communicate. Communicate what you need, communicate what you expect from your spouse. And you should also set time apart, quality time where you sit to talk as a couple. Let's not just say when it happens, it happens. No. We know, okay, from this time to this time, we have me time with ourselves. There are times I'm at work and I know, okay, for one reason or the other, I will get home in time. I have to communicate with my husband. I'm at work, I won't close in time. This is what is up. So when he knows, okay, I'm not going to be chance, he would reschedule himself. He would prepare his mind. Maybe in the morning, I know I'll have a busy day on that very day. I can bring out whatever we have to eat at the end of the day. If I bring it out in the morning. So when I do that and my spouse gets home before me, he can just maybe warm it. He knows what to do. I've made adequate preparation. In their day-to-day activities, if I need help one way or the other, I learn to communicate with my spouse. This is what I want. In the same vein, if he has to do something and for one reason or the other, he cannot meet up, he lets me know. So I can pick up the slacks and that way we balance it up while complementing ourselves and there are no issues attached to it. Another question: how do you maintain your individuality while still being a couple? I think I've answered something close to this in one of the past videos I uploaded. I can't remember. But the long and short of maintaining your individuality is simple: have a life. I don't know if I actually talked about it or I planned on talking about it, but yes, have a life. Our individualities can be maintained by having your own personal interests, respecting each other's personal space, your time, have your friends, encourage your spouse to do likewise. So, the summary of it all is have a life. Now, there are so many people that tend to be so clingy to their spouses. You're wondering what's it. And there are some women, there's something they do. They get married and they cut away from all their friends. They just feel, okay, they are married, they don't need these friends. I don't know where that doctrine or that stuff came from. But there are so many people that do it. I don't know who advised. I don't even know if it's an instruction from the spouse. I don't know. I won't delve into what I don't know. But it's important you have your circle of friends. You have people you can lean on. Because there are times you will need them. There are times you will need to talk to women like yourself. Go out, hang out, have ladies' time out. Men hardly cut away from their friends when they get married because there are times they go hang around with the boys. So please and please, my sisters, we can maintain our individuality. It's very important, it's necessary, but have a life. Building your life around your husband, you are doing everything. What you guys, I don't know, the marriage you get monotonous because you are around each other. But by the time you mix with other people, you go out, to meet with your friends, coming back home in the evening, you have things to talk about. So the summary of it all is have a life. So another question. Whoa, the questions, let's see how far we can go. There's another question. My husband is not as affectionate as I would like him to be. What can I do? Okay, one, what I'll ask is, have you communicated this consent to him. The first thing to do is to communicate your need for affection to him one on one. You sit down, you talk, you discuss. It's very important to understand that very people have different ways of expressing themselves, expressing love and affection. So it's important you understand his love language. And also, there is a need to be the change. You yourself be the change you need to see in your husband. He's not affectionate, be affectionate, express love and affection towards him. I also like to add that there are people, funnily enough, they don't know how to be affectionate, they don't know how to show love. It's very, very true. So if this is what you want as a woman or as a man, and your spouse is not giving it to you, show them how to do it. Yeah, you don't check on me regularly. Like I said, I told my husband, you don't check on me regularly. It's not as if in the evening you come now, you want to, do things in the other room and all those things. No, this is what this couple said. This is what this couple practice. This is what they suggest. I had to bring up those things. We talk about it and we change where we need to. Because personally, I also didn't want to feel used at the end of the day. So if your husband is not as affectionate as you want him to be, show him the way. You lead by example. Now, let me say something. Okay, personally, as a grown up girl, I kind of like shut my heart, my ears to anything that has to do with expression of love and affection. It was my own way of preserving and keeping myself because I knew one way most ladies tend to get carried away is by giving their ears to such things. Oh, you are the only sugar in my tea. You are the star in my whatever. So I told myself I don't want to give heed to that. I shut myself up to it. So there's no way then you are telling me those words. It gets to me. It doesn't get to me. So at the point, people started looking at me and they were like, "I'm so emotionless. I don't have love. Blah blah blah." It got to a point that someone told me that the way I'm so rigid and I'm not flexible, you take the grace of God for me to get married. I didn't answer the person, but personally, it was my own way then of preserving myself. But the drawback here is when I got married, my subconscious mindset had not opened that part of me. So affection, show of love, hey, it was kind of like a bit challenging because then I didn't want to dent about it. Getting married now, I wasn't so opened up to it. So even then, when my husband was like, "Okay, I love you" and all those things, okay, thank you. It took me time to start saying maybe "I love you" back, or in fact, I don't even say it. I wasn't open to it. But at that point, I knew, okay, I was married. This is okay, married. So I had to unlearn and relearn, work on my mindset. It took deliberate effort. Because one thing about my husband is if you tell him something, okay, this is the part we should go and all those, he starts implementing it. So when he implements it, tells me I love you, I'll just look at him, okay, thank you. But it was something I had to work on. So if your spouse is not affectionate enough, teach him or teach her. Show them how to love. Show them how you want them to love you. Next question. What if my husband and I have different life goals? Hmm. Okay. In terms of life goals, it starts with when you're saying the relationship and courtship stage because it's expected you talk about your life goals, aspirations, your dreams. Fine, okay. Now you're married and you're having different life goals or different life goals. It's important to sit down and have a heart-to-heart discussion. You find a way to support each other's goals and ambitions. You support his own, he supports your own, and also you will find a middle ground. And you'll be surprised that some of your goals may intertwine, while others may be you have to look for a mutual ground. You understand? So it depends on what the goals are. So it's very necessary you learn to sit and you talk about these things. And by doing that, you'll be able to find a middle ground. If you're not able to find a middle ground, you can reach out for counsel, contact your mentors, your pastors, and they'll be able to help out. Okay, who is the master in saving and who is the spendthrift? Who spends more and who saves more? It depends on where you're looking at it from. We both save, we both spend, but I would say I spend responsibly. That's the word. Was love making ever an issue in the marriage, especially when the marriage was getting old? Did my marriage is still young? Please, I'm 7 years married. Did you see it as a duty? Okay, this question is interesting. Though it's actually not a part I talked about in the past, but let's see. Do I want to answer that? Okay. Not really. I would say yes and no. Yes, because in times where there are challenges and I'm not in the mood, I'm not interested, and he may want it, but it wasn't really an issue. We always found a way around it directly or indirectly. And also, like I said, I'm not getting old. I'm just 7, so God is helping us. And as we are growing older in the marriage, it's actually getting sweeter. So I would say we're still really, really enjoying it. But do I see it as a chore? I think that's another question. Do I say as a duty? Yes and no, not really. I have the understanding of okay, the Bible says my body is for him and his is mine. So there are times I may not really be in that space operate, but as much as possible, I try to be operate. But when I cannot, he also tends to understand and lets it go. We always find a way around it. How can we build trust in our relationship? Okay, trust is actually trust can be built through transparency, having open communication. One thing that shouldn't get broken in a home is trust. If trust is broken in the home, so many things will go wrong. Trust, let me tell you a story. Back then, when we're still having issues in the home, it got to a point we're not really talking to each other. We each were in our own world. That world of not talking to yourself is very dangerous, if I may add. Because when you're not talking to yourself, the devil is talking to both of you separately, which is very bad and very dangerous. So at the point you are not talking to yourself, you start breeding distrust, suspicion. Yes, it comes in. Lack of trust. So there was this time then we're having issues. So my answers were mostly monosyllabically. Yes, no, okay, mm-hmm. Because this day we woke up in the morning, I went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. I came out of the room first. I was already in the kitchen preparing breakfast. My husband came out and was to use the restroom. He passed the kitchen and he saw some money on the floor on his way to the restroom. He called me and was, okay, how did this money get here? Who put this money here? I can't remember dropping money and I know I wasn't the person. And I think he also did not remember putting it there. So the question was, who did? So I wasn't ready to put at that point. The way he was insisting, I was like, I'm not the one. I didn't put any money there. And I was feeling, why is he calling me to pick it up? Why is he not picking it up? And at that point, both of us, I believe, we started suspecting each other because I actually suspected him. I was like, is he trying to get me, just me through money? Imagine what I thought. Because we're not talking to ourselves, we got so bad that we had to start suspecting ourselves because trust was broken. Imagine your own house, seeing money on the floor and you cannot pick it. So it was like, it means you don't trust me, I don't trust you, we suspect each other. So if trust is broken in a home, it leads to other challenges. So as much as possible, if you think trust is broken, sit down, communicate, iron out the issues, make promises, be willing to keep your promises. Broken trust takes time to build. So if trust is broken and you're trying to build the trust, give it time to build on it, give it time to heal. Very, very important. My husband and I have different interests. How do we solve it? Okay, different interests, yourself and your husband. I know I talked about pursuing your own individuality. Now, in a case where you have different interests from your husband, I don't really see it as a big deal. Just try to learn more about what interests your husband, what are his interests, and he will also learn about what your interests are. Occasionally, from time to time, join your husband in his own personal interests, and he will also do likewise. And also, you guys should have some shared interests because having shared interests it will help you to bond. Personally, my husband is not much of a love film person, but sometimes I watch and he will sit and watch along with me. It's my interest, but he will find a way to be there with me and watch. And that's what helps us to bond because I know he doesn't like this thing. He's not a movie person and he's doing it for my sake. So it helps to build that bond and intimacy among ourselves. How do you improve on your sexual intimacy? This is not my topic now. Anyways, to improve on sexual intimacy, I think what we do, we talk about what we want, what we desire, talk about everything. I read books, so there are some things I've read. Okay, I like this. I'm okay with this. I share it with my husband. Sometimes we read those books together, although it's quite rare. So you have such conversations. What you want, you talk about it, and be willing to meet each other's needs. Put set time apart to talk about these things. Explore. I'm not a sex therapist. I don't know much about it. There are some little things you guys can do, and also at home. Let's see how to spice up our appearance, our dressing. When I got married, I took time to get dressed and to get some clothing. And okay, I don't want to go into details with that, but let's work on our appearance in our homes. I listened to some messages and I have to take you from there. Let's not spiritualize everything and feel okay. No, I'm a Christian. No, you are in the flesh. Your husband is the flesh. When it comes to matters of let's learn to spice it up. So personally, there are times I go out and I shop for some of all those things because nah, it's very important and necessary. If I got to the time that some of all the things I got, I wanted to dispose some of it. My husband said, no, keep it, it's for him. So let's spice things up at home. It's very important. Why you take it very important. Business in the other room is not to be played with or toyed with. So I can't talk more than this on that. What if your husband doesn't express his emotion? How can you encourage him to be open? Your husband must be my husband's brother. First, number one, be patient. Learn to accept him, your husband, for who he is. Understand his personality. Also, help him understand what you want. Create a safe space for him. Has he been the type that used to talk before, and all of a sudden he became closed up, or he has not really been the talking type? Is it that he opened up before and the way you responded made him to close up? First and foremost, find a way to help him express himself, his feelings without judgment. Nobody wants to be judged when they open up. So let's be careful with having husbands that are introverted. But then I can't say much on it because there are other more details I would need. How can we ensure we are both contributing equally to the relationship? I actually don't know about contributing equally. I know at the time somebody said marriage is 50-50, another person said 100-100. But what someone said that actually made sense to me was the person said marriage is not 50-50. It should just always, at all point in time, to be 100. He said because there are sometimes your spouse may not have 100 or 50. He has just 20 because of maybe some things he's going through. So are you going to say as his spouse that because he's not bringing his complete 100 or 50, I'll bring the 20 he has brought? No. At that point in time, you cover for your spouse. The day he is not feeling up to it, he's not himself, meet up, cover up for him. That's why marriage is complementary. So I don't really think marriage is an equal contribution at all time, but most of the time there's somebody contributing more at every point in time. Today you are contributing more, tomorrow your husband is contributing more. That's why it's complementary. So but nevertheless, let's learn to sit down and talk, have responsibility at every point in time. Everybody should know what he or she is supposed to be doing. And if for one reason or the other the person is not able to meet up, you try to meet up and be understanding. And the person not able to meet up should learn to also communicate. That's what I would like to say on that. I'm actually officially getting tired. Let me see how to round off now. How do I communicate my needs to my spouse without seeming clingy? You communicate your needs by communicating your needs. Just be open, communicate. It's marriage. You are married. Your home should be a place where you can communicate. Marriage should be a safe haven. Build it to the point where you are yourself. You are not ashamed. You are not afraid. Naked and unashamed. It's who you are. So build your home in a way that you can express yourself respectfully and encourage your partner to do the same. And let's learn not to criticize ourselves. This is what this person has said. This is what this person wants. It doesn't make you clingy telling your spouse this is what you want. You are human. So saying you have need takes my mind back to the other room. Most time we ladies, we don't find it easy expressing ourselves about things in the other room, telling our husbands, okay, this is what you want. And personally, I used to be guilty of that. I never found it easy to be that verbally expressive, to be able to let my husband know, okay, this is what I want to be done. So, but I had to learn, because at a point I was like, this thing is supposed to be enjoyed. So I had to learn to talk. I'm not clingy. I'm talking to my husband of life. Please, open up. Let's talk to them and not be shy. Sometimes our husbands like it when you're able to express yourself and tell them what you want. What's the best way to handle disagreements in a relationship? Okay, first and foremost, I want to say disagreement in a relationship is normal. People call it differently. There's someone who calls it intense fellowship, and I fall in love with that. Intense fellowship. Intense fellowship in marriage is normal. You are okay. You are okay. So having disagreement, in having disagreement, it's important you focus on what exactly is the issue at hand. One thing we do that is not right is in trying to sort out what caused the problem, you will be handing another issue of another day. Personally, I have to talk to myself that I don't want to do that. If this is the problem, let's talk about the problem on ground and let's understand our partner's point of view. And if there's need to compromise, let's compromise and everything is okay. Let's learn to lose the battle to win the war. So it's also important that when having conversation and it's getting heated, let's take a break from the conversation. Let's learn to keep quiet when we have to. For instance, your husband who is not the shouting type, all of a sudden he's shouting. Maybe because of what he's talking about, his emotions got so high, he's shouting, and you said you will now start talking, are you shouting at me and blah blah blah. The whole place catches fire. No, he is angry. You know it's not normal. You know this is not your husband. But just understand that this is not the time to talk. He's shouting, whatever, whatever, madam, calm down. Somebody said two people don't get angry at the same time. Two people not the at the same time. When he's angry, allow him. Allow him. And the Bible says a soft answer turns away wrath. When he has shouted, even if he's wrong, God will give us the grace that after that shouting, we will just say sorry. Or if you want to add a little icing to the case, you just kneel down and beg. It's not easy, but God will break that self in us that will go out of our way just for peace to reign at times. Sorry, sir. If you kneel down and apologize, even when you are right, it doesn't take anything from you. But taking that step kind of like disarms your husband. Please don't mind me, don't come for me. The way I'm saying it now is sweet, but when tempers are high, it's not like that. And when there are some kinds of disagreement like that, the other person is talking, words will just come to your head and you want to answer him back and the whole place will get on fire. But God will help us. That's why sometimes when we pray that God will help us to handle disagreements even before it arises. There's one new prayer point I'm praying now. Is God, I forgive my husband for what he has done even before he gets to do it. And God will help us. There's also something I practice when maybe there's an intense fellowship like that. Immediately it starts. Most of the time, the spirit of God will tell you keep quiet or relax or this won't want to happen. Let's listen. There are times when it's happening. I will either hold my teeth, bite my teeth together, or in my mind, I start praying. Ejiro, keep quiet. Ejiro, I tell myself to keep quiet. Age will keep quiet. I do all those things and it helps. Something happened once, we're having intense fellowship. We are not always having it, but say sometimes it comes up. So my husband said something and the thing touched me. The way he said it, and he was standing close to me. I just raised my hands up. I was like, oh God, oh God. Before I could say any prayer, my husband just completed it by saying, now you give me this one. Oh. So that's how we started laughing over it. And that was the end of that issue completely. So what am I saying? God will help us. So disagreement, very normal in a relationship. How you handle it is very, very important. So is it normal to have fears or doubts? Is it normal to have fears or doubts when communicating in a relationship? Yes, it's normal. You can have fears, you can have doubt, but what's important is finding out where the fear is coming from. There are times that doubt is the red flag you've noticed that is putting the fear in you. You have to know where this fear coming from. If you are not sure, get somebody to talk to. It's perfectly normal. Going to a relationship, going to a marriage is very important, and it's very important we learn to communicate. Know why the fear is coming. Get a person to talk to. Now, sometimes the fear would come because the Lord is revealing to you that back out of the relationship. There are times you have the fear, the devil trying to push you out of where you are supposed to be. So it's important you understand where this fear is coming from. Thank God for grace. We've almost handled every question I received. How do I know how I found the one? Well, there's no actual formula to know how you found the one. If you have a friend, somebody around you in a relation, you're in a relationship with, in courtship, the person respects you, is genuine. You share the same values. He's a person you can talk to openly, honestly. He can talk to you. You have feelings. There should be an attraction. Though, yes, it's not just an attraction. You may be on the right track. Then it's very important you pray. God knows the heart of everyone. You pray. God leads you. It's not as though when you pray, you're not going to love. You will love the person. God will lead you. The person should respect you. Look at how the person treats people around him. If he's a man, how does he treat his mother, his sister? If he's a woman, how does she treat people around? Just look at her life and everything. You will know. Pray, oh, pray. If you don't pray before marriage, you go pray inside the marriage. Oh. So thank God for grace. I think I need a cup of chilled, not coffee, coffee is hot. A cup of chilled juice. Oh, this is the longest video I've ever made. But thank you so much for tagging along. Thank you so much. To think I was supposed to handle all this on live. I actually wanted to go live, but I wasn't actually too confident enough. I've never gone live before, so I wasn't too confident. But don't worry, I'll face my fears and I'll come on live one day. The Lord will help me and help us all in Jesus' name. Thank you very, very much. And please don't forget to share this video. Please share. We handle lots of questions, and there are people out there who need to hear these answers. Please, please again, oh, as I'm talking, just click on the share button. Just a click away, and the Lord will bless you immensely. So before I go, if you have other questions, areas you want me to touch on, you can write in the comment section or reach out to me on my inbox. Just find a way to get it across, and I'll answer from my perspective. And areas where I'm not so familiar, I had some questions I wasn't so familiar. I didn't just touch them. So I would reach out to people who can help me. I'm learning. Let's just learn together. Marriage is beautiful and sweet, and I want you to enjoy your marriage. Once again, happy anniversary to myself and my husband. Have a great day. I love you. Bye.